Hello and welcome. This is Retirees Nigeria and I am Dr. Dorothy Esse. I want to talk about the elderly wanting to live in their own homes until old age. Many elderly persons or seniors actually love, their independence, and in fact, who doesn't? By this I mean they love to live in their own homes for as long as possible and being in control of everything that happens in their homes. What happens and what doesn't happen. And one major reason for this, wanting to remain in their own home is that there's this attachment to the home, a place where they have lived in for so long, and where they raise their children, and their children are now grown up and are out of the home. So, in their old age, they are very comfortable with such a place and will not want to move out because such a place actually gives, them some kind of connection with their friends, their families, and their longtime neighbors. But as we are aware, as we go older, there's the possibility of mental and a physical decline, that could come up unexpectedly. And if this happens, it may become necessary, to have a rethink on whether to continue to live alone or to take other paths or other options. So here I want to talk about the circumstances where giving up that precious independent life, by the elderly uh, is something that should be considered. One of such circumstances is the inability to handle daily chores. If you are a senior or you have an elderly parent who is living alone and shows sign of physical or mental decline or deterioration that could put him or her in harm's way, then staying home alone may not be the right or a good option. The sign of mental decline actually includes unusually forgetting things often or lagging behind in doing the things that they used to do or pay attention to. For example, such a simple task that he or she used to perform, he forgets them. Like sometimes he could even forget the direction to a particular place that is supposed to be a familiar place. And if you have a parent that repeatedly asks the same question, forgetting that he or she has asked the question before, uh, it may be just one of the signs that mental decline is approaching. I remember the case of an elderly man who lived with his son. And one day he came into the sitting room and asked the son, he said, "Who is your father? What is your father's name?" What that means is that he has forgotten that that particular young man is his son. And then he went further to ask, after the son has patiently explained who he was and who his father was, he asked him for his own wife. He said, "Where was the wife?" But that elderly man has divorced his wife long ago, but he couldn't remember at that age. And the son patiently explained to him that his mother, who used to be his wife, is in her home. And the father asked, "What home?" You know, this forgetfulness could translate into other areas of life of the elderly, such as forgetting to take their medication or miscalculating the medication or even taking the medication twice, leading to overdose because they forgot that they've taken it before. Forgetfulness is dangerous, really. Another sign of mental, deterioration is spending more time alone. This is an indication that a senior should not live alone. When we notice that they begin to spend more time away from friends and family, or they avoid community events, and these community events they used to love and look forward to. So at this stage, if there is no physical reason why they no longer want to be involved in such things, then it may mean that going out or socializing may be overwhelming for them, because it takes too much effort to get prepared and be in attendance. So they would rather just stay at home. And also, if it is noticed that the elderly, has stopped caring for the home and the surrounding, then you will notice that they start to accumulate clothes, they accumulate dirty dishes, and then they, don't bother to empty the waste bin. You see cooking utensils that have been used, they are just dumped in the sink. And this is especially so for somebody who used to be very particular about these things. They want their kitchen very clean, they want their house neat, their clothes washed and ironed, and folded away. And then you begin to notice a difference, in the way they are now living. One major reason is that they no longer have the energy or capacity, to sort out their life, whether physically or mentally. Why for some, uh, they even ignore the light bills that are sent to them. Their cables will even go unpaid, and they even sometimes they come and disconnect their light, and they won't bother to sort them out, because at this stage of their life, it's like they don't care anymore. So it is understandable actually, that as we get older, we no longer care about many things, but caring about one's personal needs should not be one of them. Also, when an elderly person begins to lose weight that is unexplainable and it gets very noticeable, I mean the weight loss, there's probably an underlying health condition. Losing too much weight could indicate that there's a health concern that you should be bothered about as a child of the elderly. Or it may just be that the weight loss is as a result of not eating well. And the reason for not eating well may be as simple as, you know, not finding the energy to go for shopping for foodstuff, or the energy to cook their own meals. It becomes too stressful and cumbersome. So they would rather just, ignore making food. And as they age, some parents may even become, very defensive or paranoid of others, and also paranoid of any news which could signal the end of their ability to maintain their current lifestyle of living alone, you know. So I'm sure you will remember a neighbor's parents or someone, or a granny somewhere who is very paranoid and quarrelsome. And this usually is not in their was not in their character. So when you see cases like this, you know that probably they need help. So aside this, there is also the need to consider the energy level, whether they'll be able to cope, with staying alone. You look at their eyesight, whether it is failing them, and then their hearing ability. Because for many elderly, the only thing, when they face situations like this, when you notice that, their ability to cope is actually, reducing. For some of them, the only help that they actually need is just a little push, and then a little assistance, and then assurance that they'll be okay. So I want us to know that just because somebody, is failing in his mental and cognitive ability, it does not mean that the person must be moved out of his house that he's used to. There are other options that one could consider and still allow the elderly to live in their home that they love. So, as a senior with some of these challenges that I've just mentioned, the options that are available, I will just talk about them. Now, it has been determined that an elderly is better off not living alone. So, what should the elderly do? That's if it has been determined that this elderly, from what we have seen, the best situation is not to live alone. So, what should that elderly person do? The living arrangement will uh, be determined by how much assistance that elderly person needs. because if you need so much assistance, then the living situation will be different from someone who just need somebody to check in on them once in a while. And in our environment, the first thing that comes to mind, if an adult, a child, notices that the elderly parent is not able to cope well, is to move them into their own home. But let's not forget that you need to have a conversation with that parent, unless, of course, he can no longer, decide on anything. But if he can decide, then you may need to have a conversation with him to know whether he would like to move from his home or not. Because some of them will prefer to remain in their homes. And if they will prefer to remain in their homes, then you need to find out ways of making them remain in their home as much as possible. And one of these options is have an adult child to live with the parents, or a close relative and who lives in the same city or the same town, with the parents who requires care. So he goes to you know care for the parents on a daily basis and goes back to his home while the parents remain in his home. He may also consider either to take the parents into his own home or to move in with the parents, because some children have done that. They move in with the parents, or if there's an adult grandchild of the elderly who can take up that responsibility, then he can go in and stay with the parents to ensure that the home is cared for, when the meals are cooked, ensure that they take their medications. If the children, if there are many in the same place, they can take it in turns. So once in a while, one goes for 1 week and the other one goes for 1 week to provide the needed care. And sometimes some families work out a schedule, so they rotate the work of caring for their parents. But if, on the other hand, the children of the elderly parents are far away from home, then if there's a close relative, you know, who could do the job, it could be encouraged with some incentive to go live with the parents, or uh, go every day to check on the parent, clean the home, provide all the necessary care, and then go home. Uh, this, of course, should be discussed with the parents or with the elderly parents, unless they are not in a position to make such decisions. So if there is no such relative to provide the needed care, the other option is to provide in-care home. Here, a healthcare professional, could be hired if the finances will allow. And this is a great option for many families who are out of the state or out of the country, and also for those who are too busy, with their own lives. For example, I know of someone who goes offshore for 2 weeks and comes home for 2 weeks. So for the period that is away for 2 weeks, who's going to care for the parents, even if he decides to live with the parents? So for such people, getting somebody who is available every day is a better option, whether the person is a child or not. Another option is arranging for a nursing home, for the senior who need more care and cannot live independently. Nursing homes are especially good for those who require a medical and personal care, uh, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And if you are a child, if you are not a medical personnel, you may not be the right person to provide this care. And there are parents who actually will not agree to leave their home despite all of this, no matter what the children will say. And they will not move from the house, and the children cannot move them out of their home. They will not agree. So for such parents, their children or other family members will have to be checking on them in their homes to ensure that meals are prepared promptly, and that they take their medications on time, and that they do some form of movement, from one place to another around the home when the need arises, as a form of exercise. And the children will have to ensure that they maintain, that's the parent maintain a social life with friends and close family members, like once in a week, the family member will go and pay a visit and stay over the weekend. And then the child will also ensure that the parents, manage their finances, or they can assist with the management of their finances, and then arrange for home delivery service to deliver cooked meals and groceries to them. You can also arrange for laundry, and even what we call the house help to come in, on an agreed number of days to clean the home. And then if the parents are living there, you need to make some adjustments, to the house for the sake of safety, so that they do not slip and fall. So you have to install, rail bars that they could grab as they move around the house, and you ensure that the floor is not slippery. So, or you install rail in the kitchen, in the bathroom, something they can grab, when the need arise. So all I've been saying is this. There are just two things I've been saying. One is that a senior can decide to live alone if he can effectively perform, those basic daily tasks that are needed to be carried out in the home. But if that is not the case, he or she can still live alone if there is supportive assistance introduced into the home. The caregiver will come in for a few hours of in-home care, and this includes cleaning, cooking, to ensure that their medications are taken at the right time too. That's one. And the second one is that if all of these fails, then an assisted living home, or moving in with, one of the children or a relation, remains an option. Some people are not aware, in Nigeria especially, because we always think that children should take care of their parents. But there are situations where it is better to leave the care of the parents in the hands of professionals. And some people are not aware that we do have homes here in Nigeria where parents are given special care. And there's nothing wrong with that. If your parents cannot live alone and you cannot take care of them, then taking them to a place where they will get care 24/7, so that you have peace of mind and your parents are okay. And nothing stops you from paying them visits. So they are around us, though they are not very publicized. So if your parent needs such services, especially in the case of dementia, do not hesitate to get special care for them. They will get well taken care of, and you also will avoid burnout in the process. So that's it for this video, on parents wanting to live alone. I mean elderly parents. Thank you for watching. My name remains Dr. Dorothy Ese, and this is Retirees Nigeria. If you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe, and also visit again next time to watch more videos. If you subscribe, then you'll be notified when the new video is dropped in future. Thank you once again for watching. Bye.